halfway through this crucial encounter, particularly for the men in purple. The number of runs that they've been slated to chase is probably something that they would have settled for at the start of the innings. A slightly un-Rajasthan-like effort, whether it's the surface or whether it's just a day that Kolkata have bowled really, really well. We'll discuss in a moment. But first, to confirm the numbers, 152 for 5, a top score, the only half century for captain Sanju Samson, 54 of 49 deliveries, and a good finish from Shimron Hetmeyer to take them to some sort of respectability. It was looking like 135 when they were about the 16-17 over mark. Here on Cricbuzz Live, halfway through this game, I'm joined by Joy and Pommie. Joy, at the halfway point, we sort of did conclude that Kolkata would be happy. They kept it going, perhaps maybe Hetmeyer's innings, but even despite that, it's still not 160.
Yeah, absolutely. Over 16 to 18, they gave away just 17 runs, took a couple of wickets. And I think what they did was effectively put on the brakes. They managed to break the shackles a bit with 30 in the last 2 overs, but the damage had been done by then. And I think it's been excellent disciplined bowling from Kolkata, played to plans. Just look at that. I mean, 9.4 towards the last 5 overs is fantastic for you. And I think that's what it shows you, that there was discipline throughout in this Kolkata effort. No great penetrative bowlers, but everyone bowling to a plan. I loved the way they bowled to Jos Buttler. I loved the way they even bowled, they targeted Riyan Parag, the kind of lengths that he didn't like, forced him to hit shots he didn't like. So this has been a stunningly good performance from Kolkata.
And the discipline was further illustrated, Pommie, by the fact that they didn't really need to use Andre Russell. Sometimes they use him even when someone's not gone for a few because that's his role. But today I think they felt that everyone was doing their job well enough to give everyone just 4 overs.
Yeah, it's a particularly good bowling attack, this. And when they bowl sort of to potential, and I suppose you could say that of most sides, but a guy who's red hot for me, who sets it up quite nicely for them. If you think of the mayhem early on with Samson going, and then you look at the figures of Umesh Yadav, and the fact that nobody could get him away, it's magnificent. And he just continues this form. 17 dot balls in those 4 overs. That's absolutely magnificent. And then Sunil Narine, who this season has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, over time, his record is ridiculous in terms of, runs per over. I think it doesn't go at more than 6.5 runs per over throughout his whole IPL career. Here he is going at less than 5 to the over. Now, I felt it was a violent innings, a violent innings that didn't yield too much. The expectation as you watch shots being played was that there'd be, quite a high score, 160, 170, maybe even 180 as you watch them go along. But in the end, they've ended up at 152. I think that's fabulous work by Kolkata Knight Riders.
Yeah, interesting, Joy. Just before we went on air, Pommie just happened to mention that, and I didn't get a chance to ask him what he meant by that. But sometimes we say that about a single shot, that so much happened in that, a great shot, lots of good timing, but it was picked up on the boundary and he took a single. So a lot of effort for just one. I think what Pommie's trying to say here, Joy, is that the entire innings felt like that.
Yeah, absolutely. They bowled beautiful lengths, and even the Shivam Mavi trying to hit the cutters into the ground, and they're just not getting the timing on it. The fielding at the boundary, they had 2 excellent fielders there, Rinku Singh, Anukul Roy, covering a lot of ground. Rinku Singh, Anukul Roy, Shivam Mavi is as good a sort of mid-wicket square leg long on that you'll get as any in this IPL, in this tournament. So I think they were absolutely marvelous, the amount of ground they covered. Andre Russell, again, stand out in the field. Sunil Narine, of course, was not the greatest, but that's Sunil Narine. If he bowls like the way he does, you'd forgive him another 5 runs. I also want to go back to Sunil Narine. This year in the IPL, at this point in time, he's averaging 5.3. His economy rate is 5.3. That is stunning. And the only reason he's not taking more wickets is because people are just playing him out. Even today, we saw that even the likes of Buttler and Samson, 2 of the fiercest hitters in this league, do not take him on. They just play him out.
Yeah, certainly. Narine,
it's also ridiculous, isn't it? Like, we can say a guy is going at 5.3 in a game where runs are what we talk about. It's a 20-20. You've got to get runs on the board. And a bowler within your group, within your attack, can go at 5.3 across the season, and you'll be languishing towards the bottom of a table. I mean, that it illustrates how there isn't help from others. We were talking before about, is it just Buttler on his own in terms of the batting of Rajasthan Royals? But in terms of the bowling, have a look. It's Umesh Yadav, it's Sunil Narayan. Look at their numbers, however you want to look at them, and yet still they're unable to push through victories and be at the right end of the table. So, yeah, there must be a whole lot going wrong everywhere else in order for that attack to have two guys who are putting out outstanding numbers and still coming off on the losing end.
Yeah, well, as I said, when Pommie was about to finish that sentence and he said Umesh Yadav and Sunil Narayan, there should have been a full stop there. That's it. That's it. That's all. Kolkata have not provided anything. Today, Mavi bowled well, but for the rest of the season, big names like Pat Cummins, Varun Chakravarti, retained player, he's been going for a few. So I guess that really sums up their predicament. But if they can get over the line today and settle things for the rest of the season, maybe a quick fix job to be done. But Joy, Pommie, for both of you, from the batting point of view, I know Pommie used the word violent, and most of it came from Shimron Hetmeyer and a few others going hard. Even Buttler went hard, nothing yielded. But the man who did get a half century was anything but violent. He was his usual calm, artistic self, was Sanju Samson. Pommie?
Yeah, I love watching him bat. I absolutely, and I don't know that there's anybody who doesn't. And I think many times when people are saying, no, what's going on? Why is Sanju not opening the batting? Why is he not batting higher? Why doesn't he come in sooner? I think it's because people want to watch him bat. However, in talking about this innings, the start was absolutely brilliant. Exactly what was required, exactly what was needed by Rajasthan Royals. And then what happened is you had a scenario where, having got through the power play, having got through the first part of his innings, I think Kolkata then come back, and they come back how it's the spin, it's just a throttling. With the start he got, you expect that he'd keep going on and on, but they lost wickets, and it meant that he kind of had to throttle down just a little bit. Some of it, I think, was by design, but some of it wasn't. I think it wasn't a case of I'm not trying to whack boundaries. It was a case of I can't rotate and I can't find the boundary for a long period of time. He went from a high, I think, in terms of strike rate of around about 160, 165, and come all the way down at the end of his innings to be striking at just over 110. So that's excellent work again by the Kolkata Knight Riders rather than by design by Rajasthan, because they'd have liked to kick on. And their innings, generally, the way they've gone in this season is they might not do as much work as others in the first six, but they do more and more work as you go into the game. So in the middle phase, they kick on a bit more, and then at the back phase, they kick on even further, and that's how they've got to their big totals. They weren't able to do it today, despite Samson batting decently.
Yeah, Rajasthan, Chennai were the two teams we kept talking about with 200 plus totals, but today it wasn't even anything close to that, under 160 in fact. But Joy, overall, if you have to look at their Rajasthan batting effort centered around Sanju Samson, I mean, they're not a team who are struggling in terms of thinking of a playoff spot, but they'll probably tell themselves, fair enough, we are seeing again what's happened if Butler's going at under 100, Padikal's not got off to a start. So maybe Samson can be the one who we can turn to as the other Butler.
Yeah, I think. Look, Samson played his role. The only thing was, I thought he was very, very good in the first part of his innings. His first 20 odd balls, he was brilliant. He was measured, but he was punching the loose ball. He was picking his chances. I think that's something that hasn't happened in the second part of the innings. He just seemed a little bit more frustrated, wasn't able to get the gaps, and that's very typically. It also tells you that this perhaps is not the easiest surface to bat on, because somebody of the quality of Samson struggling that's a really, really rare occurrence.
Now, I must tell you, we probably will end up thinking of who might be opening the batting. We were all at the start saying it has to be probably Sunil Narayan. We're not thinking beyond that, Aaron Finch. But just having a look at what's happening, the activity in the Kolkata dugout, one man holding the helmet in his hands, he's got a pair of gloves and pads on, is Baba Indrajit. So I wonder if Kolkata are now thinking that we're not going to go hell for leather because it's 150 and not 190. Let Narayan wait, and let's get Baba Indrajit and Aaron Finch to open. What do you think, Pommie?
Oh, I think full throttle. I think it's very unlike Brendan McCullum to kind of go that route, if that's the route they're going, because my expectation would be open up both ends, just open the taps, because it's the start of the game. It's, it's 6 overs up at the front. You don't want an end that's kind of being circumspect. You want both guys to go. When one goes, then you've then got to start thinking about it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But whoever it is who goes first, I think it's important for them not to be circumspect. They've got to try and take it on, even though their role might be, I suppose, less aggressive than others.
Yeah, I mean, if it does turn out to be that, and there's no reason, Joy, for Indrajit to have his pads on and a helmet in his hand, I suspect he is going to be coming out with Aaron Finch. They probably, as I said, is it the total dictating it? Because as Pommie said, it's maybe not the McCullum way.
No, I think the total is not dictating it, but the total is allowing them not to do something stupid. I think somebody like Sunil Narayan opening is a desperation measure. I think this is in a situation where they are, they know what they're doing. They say 152, we can bat normal cricket and get it there. And I think that's what they're planning to do. I think Indrajit is, not an opener in that sense, but he has batted fairly at the top of the order for Tamil Nadu. So I think it's not a bad choice at all out there. Stable, steady guy. Let Aaron Finch take the risks at the other end. I think that's where they're going.
Yeah. Of course, there is Aaron Finch. I know we keep talking about Sunil Narayan being an enforcer, but remember the words from Pommie, Aaron Finch is very Brendan McCullum-like. So when he gets going, he is the captain of Australia. He has played a few blinders. So
top player. Top player.
Yeah, well, let me just confirm to you, had a look. My hunch was correct. It is Baba Indrajit who has walked out with Aaron Finch to open the batting. So there you have it. Let's have a quick look before we finish at what's going to come up against them. Maybe one of the reasons why they didn't send out Sunil Narayan. With Kuldeep Sen's pace, with Trent Bolt's pace, with Prasidh Krishna's pace, maybe it was a good idea that let's go a little bit more conservative. But certainly, if anyone can, Rajasthan can. 165, Pommie, just to throw that out there. The lowest total defended this season is 165 at this ground by RR against Lucknow.
Yeah, look, 152 is what they've been kept to here. And the expectation from Rajasthan Royals, because of this really good bowling attack they've got, is that if they can keep us down to that, we can keep them down to less, particularly a side that's been going quite nicely. You name Prasidh Krishna, he'll want to do well against this side because it's his former side. And also Trent Bolt searching in the previous game, probably in the last couple of games. It'd be nice for him, for Rajasthan as well, if he can get back to his rhythm and sort of go back to sort of getting some sort of form as they go towards the end of this round robin stage. So yeah, big things for the guys in the bowling attack. And then to see those two spinners operate will be interesting, to say the least, because they're particularly good together. They're experienced together. They battle hardened. They read situations really well, and they're really skillful. So it's not going to be easy, even if the pitch is sort of okay. It's not going to be easy for Kolkata Knight Riders. Add in the nerves of not having won for some time. It's going to be rather tougher. And let's see, perhaps Dew comes in and it makes it easier for them. But if it does, they've got to make sure they capitalize.
One final question, and I'll throw it to Joy before we wrap. This is, again, we often refer to a Williamson type of chase. This possibly, the 153 would be a Shreyas Iyer type of total, Joy? Perfect.
Yeah, it's a Shreyas Iyer type of total. They're hoping probably it's even a Baba Indrajit type of total. But the interesting one is, if they reach 70, 80, 100 early and they lose a wicket or two, you might just see Andre Russell coming in there and saying, let's improve this run rate substantially. That's a very McCullum kind of move. So expect that to happen once they sort of reach close enough so that for the final assault.
Joy, don't get ahead of yourself.
Don't tell me something has happened I should know about.
No, nothing. I was just saying we were all, anyone who might be a fan, we're all neutral here, of course, but anyone who might have any sort of affiliation towards that particular city, well, you might be thinking that get the 2 points first. We'll think about everything else later. But yeah, Joy, spot on. If they were to get close, Andre Russell's always padded up. He's always got his pads somewhere close to him. So we'll see what happens. But remember, we all missed it, Joy. You missed the prediction by a whisker. So I'll let you go first in terms of a power play prediction for Kolkata. It's not Sunil Narayan. It is Indrajit opening up with Aaron Finch. Does that change it for you?
Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. 43 for me.
43 in 6 overs in the power play. Sri Mbangwa goes higher, 48. Can they get off to a flyer? 53. How about 53? Yes, indeed. 53. Brian Charles Lara, I think, turns 53 today.
He does.
If I'm right? He does. There you go. That's where I got the number from. So in case you happen to have a free moment and you're watching, happy birthday, PCL. And in case he's not watching, for everyone else who's a fan of him, yes, it's a good day to say happy birthday to Brian Lara turning 53. And that's a good way to remember my prediction, 53. Kolkata would be favourites at this stage. Rajasthan, great bowling attack, makes for a wonderful run chase. We'll see you in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. Until then, from Joy, Pommie and myself, that's all we have.